All right, I'm going to scoop this stuff up and I'm going to start that banding process. So I've got the greens out. I'm going to have to mix some more black up. I'm not going to get rid of any of this stuff. I'm going to use it all. I'm just going to put it off to the side. And I've used up all my mixed black, so I'm going to mix some more. That sky looks pretty dark, doesn't it? I may lighten that up right now. No, I'll let it dry. Don't be impatient. Just like this mass here, if I can do more layers rather than fewer layers, it'll make that shape more interesting. So I'm just going to let it dry. Mix up some more black. That's the base for those greens, so I want to make sure I have it. Okay, I'm going to start with my coolest green. So that's going to be my mixed black, my phthalo blue, a little bit of white, and a touch of that cad lemon. Too much, so I'm going to drop it back. I'm actually using this sky color to mix into that green because I want to keep it nice and cool and not too. More phthalo. All right, I'm going to hold it up and see if I've got the right value. And it's about this color, but it's a darker value. So that's going to jump us across the water, which is what I want to do. And I'll start back here and start to sculpt the land a little bit. And I may actually look at the photograph a second. Maybe not. I want to get a sense of this distance and how we're looking around there. And I've just got to trust my own fishing time on the water more than the photograph here, I think. So in order to see that, I'm going to take that mixed green from before. It's all together here. It's a little gray. And I'll warm it up just a touch. Take that same brush, and these are small little bands. So what I'm doing is beginning to find the way this, much smaller strokes, much more paint. Scoop the paint up. It's still not my finished coat, so I'm trying to help myself by leaving as much paint down as I can. And I want to probably have a little more sky reference in there, so I'm going to take the phthalo blue. Ooh, there's a nice pile right there. And let that bounce off some of these edges here, so it's just a little lighter. And you can really see I'm spending a lot more time mixing the right color for each of these. It's like I'm tasking myself. I'm mixing a color for a wedge, and then I'm gonna, in a creative and descriptive way, I'm going to put the paint down. So what I'm really doing is looking at the land and making certain that I see these edges properly. And usually the tailing edge of a shape is a little crisper than the leading edge. So I'm going to soften up the tailing edge of that shape, or crispen up the tailing edge of that shape and soften up the leading edge. There's this tendency in the process of putting these bands in to want to concentrate on the back edge of the band and lose the detail at the front edge. So the leading edge tends to be softer, and the trailing edge, that's from our eye perspective, tends to be more crisp. It's a little early for me to worry about that too much right now, but I am conscious of it. So in the process of laying down these bands, I'm going to try to start with the tip of the brush at the top edge of the shape to make this edge crisper. I'm doing a complicated thing. I'm making the shapes come down, but I'm also making them open up, so they taper and widen as they get towards the ground. So this case, we're going to widen this shape out and let it thin up as it goes away from us. So this is the, they call these landscapes because, what I'm doing now is scaping the land. I'm making certain that these land masses go back. And so that's this whole pattern. One of the things I'd really advise you to do is take your dog for a walk and just kind of lose a sense of yourself and sort of look at the patterns that you see as you look around you, what happens to trees as they bend in and out of the light, what happens to these masses, these ground patterns as they shift away. And it's these patterns that are going to let you be more creative with your color choices. And it's just observation and a good dog. So what I'm doing now is just really finding the tailing edge of this shape. And then I'm going to soften that up. And if I now as I'm getting closer to my feet, I want to start to pay attention to the middle of these masses. So I'm going to have to orange up these colors just a little bit. First I'll yellow them. And just as I used this permanent green light as the gauge for where I'm going to cool and warm, I'm going to find the center of this mass and get the warmest color I can. So I'm going to mix the pink and the yellow together. So I'm going to block in this color here. Once I've gotten this center in, I'm just going to lose this transition to the back and open it up toward the front. So again, we kind of go whoo, whoo, whoo. I think of it as skiing, like I'm going down these moguls, and I'm really trying to lay that out. And I can, with luck, even get into an almost orangey color back in here somewhere. So I can come back and really bring home the idea that we're transitioning from a warm to a cool. And if I'm lucky, I can get even orangier. Bless you. And these are bigger shapes, so I'm able to be a little more aggressive with my paint application. Now I'm going to stand back and take a look. And I've got a good sense of this flow. I don't have a good sense of it flowing down this way yet. So at this point, I'll come back and I'll start to lay in some sense of this diminishment so that we're having more of this opening up and tumbling into the water rather than sliding in gently. I want this to come down pretty aggressively. So I'm going to start to work along this edge. Get these shapes to slide into the water more. And the reason I'm doing that is so that I have, our eye comes like this. So I'm looking more this way and flattening that way. So we're going to have a transition that goes from 45-degree angle to almost flat.